Welcome to part 21 of the Kicho Wong Dong series. In this episode, we're now looking at the Idan Tollyo Cha Ki, the Jump Roundhouse. Now, this kick is usually taught at orange belt level, but can be taught at a lower grade if the individual is ready. Of course, you now need some prerequisites for this technique. You need to have your roundhouse down well, and you need to have your Idan Cha Ki jump snap kick down as well. So if you have trouble with either of those kicks, please watch my videos on that. If you're okay with those two kicks, you're now ready to basically put those two techniques together. So to warm up, make sure before doing jump kicks, you always warm up. Do some stretches, do some light kicks, some basic roundhouses would be good, some plyometric jumping exercises, and then the first thing you need to do is you need to be able to lift one knee up, and then as you hop onto the other leg, rotate your hip over with a Tollyo Cha Ki, a roundhouse knee. So again, like always, do this slowly. Just put one foot up, hop onto the other foot as you jump and transfer the weight, turning your hip over. This turning the hip over is the main element of the roundhouse that people, when they first learn, struggle with. If you can do that, and if you have no problems with doing it on both sides, you can now add the kick. And the kick is very simple. All you do is, after you've hopped up and jumped over with the knee, you then extend your leg out and bring it back. So please make sure that you are jumping high and kicking low at the start. So jump really high with the supporting knee, get that knee up as high as possible, turn your hip over, and make sure your kick is always parallel, it's not going up at an angle. And then you jump forward and kick, and you can do this in line work, you can do this with a partner. I like to do it on a paddle or freestanding bag to have some sort of reference there. You can do it with the flat of your foot or the traditional way with your toes bent back. And once you've got that hip over, you can start to add height to it, making sure that the kick doesn't start to angle up like a half snap kick roundhouse. This is obviously where you're overcompensating and making a mistake. So always parallel. And again, I cannot stress enough, the higher you lift the porting knee, the non-kicking leg, the more air time you will have. And for all these jump kicks, it's all about air time. Some common mistakes that I see are obviously this knee not coming up far enough. A lot of people are concentrating so much on the kick, they don't even engage this knee at all. This knee is going to the floor, and then when they kick, their body weight is going down. So when you're doing the kick, like I was saying earlier, really ramp that up high. I would say get that knee higher than the target that you want to kick with at first, and then this will launch you up. Which brings us to our second common mistake, is people not turning this hip. As you go up, people tend to kick without turning this hip over, so they have ignored the warm-up that I set out, and they are sort of kicking with their toes up, and this can cause real injuries if you're trying to kick with just your big toe. Make sure the foot is turned over and you are kicking parallel. Your hip, your knee, your foot are all in a straight line with each other, and this can be low, medium or high, but the three parts of the leg need to be parallel. The last common mistake I see is people not focusing on the target forward, and they are leaning back, not putting their hip into the technique. Their arms are flying off to the side, a various number of things, but they are not concentrating on your basics. Remember, jump kicks are just an advanced way of doing your basics. So the basic is to keep your head up, keep your hands up, keep your body upright. Same for the jump kick. Do not lean back to get extra height. Once you feel you have the technique down, it is always important to test your technique. One problem that people have when they start jumping, especially with a slight turn in the kick as well, is that accuracy goes off. So let's test accuracy first. Again, I always like a paddle to start with, or a wave rider, and then even better is on a partner. Jump up and lightly tap your partner's stomach area, and again, this will give you this control so the leg comes back and you're not over rotating like a sort of football kick where you're off balance afterwards. Again, just like a basic, the kick is bent, straight bent, and it comes back. The next test I like, you can use other methods, but we here at the Dojang have a bob, and the bob has shoulders. And one of the things to do is so your kick is not arching up, like I was saying in the common mistakes, is to kick over the shoulders so you can hit the head. So again, you start with the bob at a low height, and then make sure you can kick over your shoulders on both sides, and then raise it up and up until you can get as high as you can. And this will really test that you're kicking with a parallel angle instead of rising up. The last test I have is called the hopping game, or the machine gun jumping game. Again, the name changes from time to time, but basically the rules are you start on one leg and kick with a roundhouse, and then your partner's holding the paddle, and then they move back slightly and you jump from your other leg and kick. But this time you kick out with 2 roundhouses without putting the leg down, and then you jump onto the other leg, 3, and then 4, and try and get up to a higher number as you can. And this will keep this control and this hip turnover, and it's a really good way to open up your hips in order to do the roundhouse. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on the jump roundhouse kick. It is a difficult kick, so whenever you're having a problem with it, I always say go back to your basics, and you're probably doing something wrong in your basics, which is why the jump roundhouse isn't working. And in return, then once you do have the jump roundhouse down, you will also find that your basics are better. So please look at them as a synergy, yin-yang kind of relationship. So again, please like and subscribe to the channel. The techniques are going to get more difficult now, so I hope you're still enjoying them. Leave a comment below on a technique you'd like to see, and we will see you next month. Thank you very much. Thanks.